Hello, everyone. Good afternoon from Kuwait. First of all, thank you, Dr. Muna, for accepting my invitation to present in ITAR group, and welcome all to join ITAR online webinars. My name is Dr. Ahmed Al-Kattan, the founder of ITAR group. Dr. Muna Nassar. Dr. Muna Nassar is a teaching fellow at University of Portsmouth Business School and AOL coordinator marketing subject group. She conducts NVivo training session for NARTI, University of Salford Business School, Newcastle University Business School, and University of Portsmouth Business School. She presents her work at PIRA, Academy of Marketing Conference, and LSTE. Her research considers service marketing, customer satisfaction, higher education, and education pedagogy. Thank you, Dr. Muna, for accepting again my invitation, and the floor is yours. Sorry, before we start, you have 45 to 1 hour to present, and then we'll open the floor for any question. As you know, everyone, the chatting it will continue rolling, and we can't catch all the questions if you write it down in the chat. So I prefer just raise your hand after the presentation, and we'll go one by one to have the chance to ask Dr. Muna. Or there is down there is a Q&A. You can write down your question, and we'll try our best to go one by one to answer those questions. Thank you, and the floor is yours, Doctor.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for being here, and thank you for inviting me to share with you some of my experience regarding NVivo. So I will share the screen and start the session. I think it might be better to stop the video because you don't need to see me, you need to see the presentation and the software. So starting with, let me introduce myself. So my name is Mona, as Dr. Ahmed said. I had my PhD 4 years ago, and at that point, I started to use NVivo. I thought it's an interesting tool, and today I'm going to give you just an introduction on if you are considering using NVivo at one point. So this might help you to make your mind if you are going to use it or not. In today's session, we are going to look at different points. So first of all, why would you consider using NVivo? You might change your mind after this session, but you need first to have in mind what kind of services or what kind of help would NVivo offer to you. What kind of terminology do we use in NVivo? Because we have a little bit different terminology. How would you get your data ready for NVivo, and how are we going to do the analysis so you would have just a taste or flavor from the way that we use in order to code and analyze the data. And at that point, I'm going to use the software itself. How are you going to present your analysis at the end? And finally, some tips that might help you. NVivo is not going to Definitely, it's not going to solve your analysis problems. It's not going to do everything or do the analysis for you. So if you think that NVivo is like SPSS, where you enter numbers and then you click on some kind of functions or, equations, and then you are going to have something, NVivo is a little bit different. So it's not going to do the analysis for you, but it's going to save you time, to be honest. Definitely, it's not going to make your argument. So if you are a master's or PhD student who are planning to use NVivo in order to help them to use NVivo to prepare the discussion for them or the analysis and everything for them, I'm sorry to disappoint you guys, but it's not going to make this argument for you. It's going to help you to prepare your argument, but it's not going to do it for you. I might disagree with this point a little bit, but it has been highlighted in different literature that discuss the use of NVivo. So they said, some researchers said that it's not very easy and very quickly to learn. I guess that they might be talking about people who are not into technology or people who don't like softwares. And yet I'm not very technical person, but I thought that it's easy to use. The only trick that you need to have in mind is that you maybe 1 hour, 2 hours per day, just try to play with the NVivo if you are planning to use it. Definitely, it's not useful for short interviews. So if you have, especially at the master's level, if you have something like 10 interviews and each one is 20 to 30 minutes, so definitely this is not the right thing for you. It's much easier to do this manually rather than using or learning a new software. And definitely, this is the big thing. It's not going to write your thesis for you. So if NVivo is not going to write my argument or do this for me, why should I consider using NVivo or other similar tools? And most probably you heard about other softwares that might help you in your qualitative data analysis. So why would you use it? It's going to organize your data. I'm a person, my close friends knows that, and my supervisor used to know that I'm not very organized. Yes, I'm trying as much as I can, but in reality, it doesn't always work. So NVivo was very useful because I kept all the folders, all the documents in one place. My literature review, not all the literature review, because I started a little bit late with NVivo, but I saw this with my students. They are keeping all the literature review. You have your data, you have your transcripts, you have your audio files, you have your video files, you have your maps, you have your analysis, your themes, everything in one place. This gives you this kind of speed when it comes to analysis. And as we will see, it's very easy. Instead of getting several, if we are looking at the manual way, usually you get different pens with different colors and then start highlighting. So in this case, it's a little bit different and it's much easier. Again, this is my experience, so I'm not trying to convince you with the NVivo. One of the good and positive aspects of NVivo is the traceability and the transparency of the analysis, which is very important, especially if we are talking about PhD students who are going to have Viva at one point. If you are sharing your analysis or your findings with your partners or your funding organization. So it's very important to make sure that you are very transparent. The analysis process was very transparent. They can trace all the steps or all the way, your whole way. So NVivo would be very useful in this case. It's easier when you have group projects because it gives you this kind of ability to share one project with different people. And again, you can trace. So you can see who exactly did what at each point. So it's very useful when it comes to group projects. Keeping everything electronically, especially for it's portable, yes, and especially for people who care about the environment. So you don't need to print a lot of papers all the time. It helps you to provide this kind of structure and framework. Before starting, it's very important to make sure that you are having the right start. So by this, I mean that there are different versions of NVivo. So it's very important to make sure that you are using the right version. The issue here is that if you are using NVivo 9 or 10, and then you started to use NVivo 12, it's going to transfer the file for you, but it might be very hard to retransfer it to NVivo 9. So it might be useful from the beginning to make sure that either you are working on one set, one computer or one laptop, or if you are working on different ones, both of them or all of them would use the same version of NVivo. Another thing which is very important is that you have to have in mind that there are two versions, Windows and Mac versions. To be honest, I'm anti-Mac, anti-Apple person. I think that it's very complicated. So I'm always working with Windows, but I saw this with some of my students last year. They had an issue. Not all of the functions available on Windows are available in Mac. So you need to have this in mind. And I'm not sure if you can transfer your files. So if you are working from home on Mac and then you went to the university and they have Windows there, I'm not sure how can you do this link. So you need to be very careful with this. Finally, I would recommend you, if you are interested after this session with NVivo, I would recommend you to download the free trial. It's free, it's very easy. And then you can start have a go, play with it for a while and see if this thing you are going to be interested in or it doesn't work. Because at the end, usually we are talking about long framework time projects. So it's not just 1 or 2 days. You need to be comfortable with the tool that you're using. Terminology. Usually when we do the analysis or when we are talking about qualitative data analysis, we talk about themes, we are talking about sub-themes. In NVivo, we have different terminology. So we say node, code, tree node, child node. I'm going to explain all of this once we start working on the software itself, but it's worthwhile to highlight that the node, it might be a theme, it might be an idea, it might be a sentiment, it might be anything that you have in mind. It doesn't have to be a theme. Tree node, this means that you have different levels within the node. So you have level 1, level 2, level 3, maybe more. Child node is the subnode or the subtheme, and each child node has a parent node, and the child node can be a parent by itself. So if we are talking about hierarchy of 3 levels, you have a parent node, child node, and then grandchild, but we don't say grandchild. So it's a child node for the parent node. So how are you going to get your data and how are we going to start working with NVivo? At this point, I would prefer to work on the software itself. Dr. Ahmed, can you see the software or is it still sharing the presentation?
It's still sharing the presentation. I didn't see the.
I think I need to stop and then reshare.
Correct. Yes. Yes.
So now you can see.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Okay. This is the first thing that you will see once you open NVivo 12 Plus or 10. It's almost the same thing. As you can see on your left-hand side, you will see the recent projects that you have been working on. You will have blank project, sample project. In this case, I'm not going to work on the blank project, but I need to open this just to show you that once you decide to start on a new project, it will ask you for the title of the project, give a brief description, and this is very useful if you have several projects and several people who have access to this. So you need to have brief description. And then where are you going to store this? Regarding storage, it's very important. So I'm not going to use this. Regarding storage, it's very important to make sure that you have a backup all the time. As any software, though I'm very biased toward NVivo, but still, it's like any other software, it can just crash. So just to make sure that you are on the safe side, it might be better always to update it and, to keep a backup. And in this case, it might be better again to keep it in a different place. So if you have your original document or original project on your laptop, the other one might be on the stored on the cloud or on a USB. For the sake of the training, we are going to look at a sample project. Sample project is a project that has been conducted by NVivo team, where you have they managed to do the coding, the nodes, everything. So it's very useful tool to start with. As you can see, once you start, it would help you to say, I agree. And you will see something very, very similar to the Outlook. And that's what makes NVivo a little bit familiar. On your left-hand side, you will see several folders. The first one is the data, and you will have here the files. In the files, you can store your interviews, you can store your literature review, you can have different folders according to your preference. It's completely up to you. And that's why I said at the beginning that it helps you to be more organized. The more organized you are, this would help you later on once you are trying to wrap up your dissertation or thesis or research. So as you can see here, this folder, yes, the files. One, it has a lot of files inside. You can have even subfiles all the time. It's very easy. It's very doable, like the Outlook. Right click and then a new folder where it's going to ask for a name and description as well. Same applies for the literature review. So I might like to add a literature review, another folder under the literature review talking about social marketing. So you can see that we have a subfolder. Externals are usually used when you have, we will see that NVivo is very useful in terms of it supports different kind of documents and different platforms. So you can import or you can have documents, you can as a Word, you can have PDF, you can have pictures, you can have video, audio. If you have, for example, hard copy of a book, you can either scan it and have it as a PDF, or you can have it as a picture. But what if you can do this and you want to have some kind of notes? This is where you can have your own notes in the external part. So this is the files. Looking at the codes. The codes is where you are storing your analysis, which is the nodes. And then the cases is a little bit more complicated thing. So you are trying to link different projects or different parts of the project with each other. How would I, or how can I import a new file? So I'm going to start from scratch. This is my folder. It's completely empty. So how would I import my file? It's very easy. It's either to import it through files, and here it's going to open folder NVivo. As you can see, my desktop is complete mess. So you can import it this way and then open, or you can click here. If sorry, I need to open this. So I can drag and drop from my folder. itself. Import, browse, and then where's the NVivo one? For a reason it's not showing here. Okay, import. Sometimes it takes time to import anything, so you have to be very cautious when it comes to NVivo. Don't over push it, otherwise it can freeze or stop working for any reason. As you can see, it will give you the option to rename your file or document or PDF, it depends. It will give you again the option to give it a description. And as we said again, it might be useful all the time to keep descriptions, so to keep track of what you are doing. So I'm not going to do any of this. As you can see, this is the module handbook. It seems that it hasn't been coded. So its coding is 0, reference is 0 as well. The last time it was modified, and modified by whom? Again, this is very important when it comes to tracing, the activity. So you can see here that it was modified by me. If I'm going to open this, again, it's very similar to the Outlook. It's going to open on your right-hand side. So let's start. If I'm going to look at the learning objective, for example, so I think this is one of the most important points in developing some kind of skills to the students. So I'm going to highlight this. And in order to do the coding, you have different options. Either you can press right click, and then you have the code. And then within the nodes, you either can have an old node or start a new node. Usually when you have your own projects, you are going to start with nothing here. So you have to start a new node. What if I don't want to do it in this way? You can have another way, which is dragging and dropping into the nodes directly. And then it would ask you to rename or have a new name for your node. And you can finish the whole document in this way. So let me show you how it works. So once I have the code, I will have a new node, and to make it different, I will have it as test1. And you can see on your left-hand side here that it started to appear in the nodes. Code 2 is another new node, test2. So I can show you how you can merge and different nodes together. And this would be test3. And finally, this one would be, sorry, I have an issue here, test4. Okay, so as you can see here, I have 4 new nodes. Part of what we have been discussing, which is the transparency of documents, you can see here that on the home page, you can see that I can have, sorry. In the document, you can have something called coding strips. Coding strips, it's going to highlight whatever you coded in your document. So if you can see here, you can see the related nodes. So test1, test2, test3. And using the highlights, I can highlight all codes, for example. This is very useful again, because then you can print something like this and have it with you in your meetings, as a sample in the appendix of your PhD or dissertation or research. So you simply go to the file, print, and in this case, I'm just going to do the print preview so you can see it. Sorry, take thumbs up. No, technology. Yeah, it is. I'm not sure if you can see this because it's still freezing. Sorry guys, but you know, this happens all the time when you use something related to the technology.
Dr. Muna, take your time, please. Don't worry.
I can't do anything. it's freezing, so I have to be patient.
Yeah, don't worry. Just if you want to restart it, maybe close it and open it again,
And
it will help.
it might be better not to. Let's see if it didn't. Usually it works well. I tried this yesterday and it went very well. So I'm not sure what went wrong today. It's definitely not going to restart. Oh. So okay, let me open the NVivo. The only comment that I saw now is that NVivo takes time. Yes, I agree with you. It usually takes time to process, but if we are talking about big files, so that's why I picked that file. It was very small one. Shouldn't take that much. Okay, that's why it's very important to make sure that you are saving your work all the time. And NVivo usually asks you every 15 minutes if you would like to save the work. Okay, so I'm sorry for that, but if you are looking at one of the examples that's provided by the sample project itself, you can see that the strips or the coding. So you would see that it has a lot of nodes and it appears on your right-hand side, and you can see that it's measured and it's very big document, this one. And that's why, yeah, I used the other one, but it didn't work. The coding process, it's the same, either you are using a Word document or a PDF. What might be interesting to see as well is the audio files. This is one of the interesting things. Again, if you are having an audio file, you can code your audio file. You can do the coding as you work without transcribing everything. You can just transcribe the part, or you can add this part to one of the nodes. So I'm just dragging again, click, drag, and then leave and code. So it's very easy, but you have to be aware that not all supervisors or not all researchers would prefer to code from an audio file. So sometimes you need to transcribe the file before start coding. Something nice about NVivo, I'm not sure about you when it comes to transcription, but for me, it was very useful to have something to control the speed. Some people tend to talk very fast. I think I'm one of them. So NVivo is having this speed thing where you can decrease the speed of the play. This would help you to transcribe a little bit better, especially if we are talking about long interviews. So you need something to help you. Same applies for the videos. So you can insert a video and you can start transcribing and you can start coding from that. Moreover, you can use, let me see, it's here, no. I need to get picture to show you how it can be. Okay, I can use this. So within the interviews, I'm going to add another one, which is an image that I had. Okay, it's ref, I don't mind. Just make sure. And here we go. So this is references thing. It's a little bit small, so I can enlarge this. And then you can highlight a specific part and code this part. So you can, this means that we can code and we can analyze and have some notes from interviews as Word documents, PDFs, audio, video, and images as well. Unfortunately, since I lost my first, I need to take this off so I can see the screen. One of the most important things that while transcribing, make sure that you have clear, this would help you later on if you would like to have some cases or some link things together. Make sure that you have it clear who said what. So for example, here, Henry is the interviewer, Barbara is the interviewee. Make sure that you have some kind of headings. Make sure that your sentences are clear, that this belongs to that person, because you can use this later on when it comes to notes, the coding and the cases. Okay, so I need to add, or let me go to the notes. So those are the notes. The notes, this means again that those can be themes, those can be ideas, those can be your own perception or interpretation of different texts that you had in your interviews. If I double click any of those, it would give you all the information. So as you can see, it would give you all the text that I have coded. So this is from Barbara, this is from Patty and Paul, where it seems to be an image. This is from Helen, it was an interview. So you can see who said what. And in case, because we know that when it comes to qualitative data analysis, you can't just take words out of context. So in case if you would like to go back and remember where or in what case or what circumstances did they say this, you can click on the interview and then it's going to open the interview and highlight, the part where the part which is attached to the balance that you have highlighted here. So it's going to open back the same text and give you the part that has been highlighted. Okay, so this is very interesting, but how can I get, again, an idea about who said what? Or, sorry, how many people participated or how many people added to that note? So as you can see here within the balance, you have 6 when it comes to files and 16 when it comes to references. 6, it means that it came from 6 sources. It can be 6 interviewees, it can be 5 interviewees and 1 picture, or 2 documents and 3, 2 and 3 is 5. So 2 documents, 3 recordings, and 1, for example, image or picture. References is how many times it was repeated or how many parts of this text was repeated or was highlighted. So I think that balance, it was, for example, it was referenced 16 times within those 6 incidents or 6 files. For a reason, I don't know why, but NVivo sometimes it doesn't, as you can see here, attitude, this is the parent node, mixed is the child node, and the whole thing is a tree node. You can see here that for a reason, the child node does not reflect the content of the children. So if you had something like this, you should right click and then go to aggregate coding from children. And at that point, you would see that it changed. It came, so attitude, it's from 17 files and it was referenced 991 times. So you can see that it's a huge difference. You can see here that it was created by WWS and now it's modified might be. So again, this is good for the transparency. What if during, because the analysis, and I guess all of you know this, the analysis or the qualitative data analysis, it's not a one way, or it's not one day thing. You always keep visiting and revisiting your data and trying to check and make sure that all your coding is in the right way. And yes, this text belongs to that code. What if you think that mixed attitude is the same as neutral attitude? Then you can just cut and then go to mixed and merge into the selected node. So it's going to move everything. And now instead of having 4 nodes, you have 3 children nodes. But you need to be very careful, because once you do this, after a while, it's impossible to return back into 2 nodes. In this case, I changed my mind, so I brought it back into 4 nodes instead of 3. So you have to be very careful with this. What if I would like to change my mind? So after revisiting the nodes, and especially the mixed node, I noticed that one of the text here is not consistent with the node, or maybe it's not the right one. So I can just highlight this and then uncode from this node. And you would see that it's going to disappear. All of this can be done on Word document. Yes, no, I'm not sure. I'm not quite sure because of the fact that you are going to have different documents, but we can try this. Again, if you are thinking of the hard copy or pen and paper, it might be a little bit hard to do this as well. Another thing that's interesting is the maps. When we are talking about maps, you can have, maps, it means that you can have your own visualization of your data, or your own visualization of, or having your ideas or thoughts, or having a mix of them. So once you start and have a right click on the maps, you can have a new mind map where you are having your own concepts. It's something that you build from scratch by yourself. This is very useful if you are thinking of a conceptual framework, and again, everything is in one place. Project map, where you can link different nodes to each other, and I will show you now. And the concept map, it's something in between. So you can have nodes and you can have your own thoughts, but in this case, you are the one who needs to link or have a link between those nodes and codes. I will just look at the project map, and again, if you would like to have a node, you can just right click. If you would like to have a map, just right click and initiate a new one. Here you can add your project items. Usually I would prefer to have some kind of relationship between the nodes that I have. I guess economy would be one of the most interesting because it has different levels. So I'm going to make sure that it's going to select the parent nodes and the child nodes, select economy, and then click OK. And here it is. Does it make sense like this? But maybe if we changed the layout, it can make more sense. If it still doesn't make sense, maybe if I can stretch this in a way like this, you can do several things. But once anyone would see this, they would understand that this is generated by NVivo, simply because you can see that you have the nodes, you have the child. So it's very clear that agriculture is a child of economy. And fishing is a child of economy, where fishing industry is a child of the fishing or agriculture. Again, this is a way to visualize things and help you to transfer your ideas or thoughts, not ideas, your analysis to different people. Let's have a look on one final thing. I'm cautious about the time. So one of the interesting things here is the word frequency. And I'm sure that if we are talking about students, either PhD or MSc students, we usually have to present several times during our study. So it might be worth to have something, more have some kind of artistic pictures. So you can have this kind of word frequency. You can do this from NVivo as well. Doing this is very simple. You just need to click, or you just need to make sure that you are choosing the right folders. In this case, I'm going for the interviews, and I'm going to select few interviews. Just enough.
Dr. Muna, please take your time. I know it's so hard to explain this software in just 45 minutes. So please take your time.
Okay.
It's all right. I think everyone will understand that. So take your time. When you finish, you finish. So don't worry about the time.
Okay, this is much better. Okay, so again, if we are looking at the word frequency, as I said, we need to present our work in some artistic way, something to attract attention. It can be a poster or for a presentation. So as you saw, I selected some items. You can select nodes, you can select interviews, you can select whatever folder that you would like to have. Usually when you select the length for the word, try to avoid the 3, because the 3 is going to include and, the, so off. So you don't need those words. Most probably you will need something a little bit longer. And this depends on your research project. So I know that this research project that we are working on is regarding the environment and pollution. So we have 7 would be good word count. So run the query, and here we go. Phishing was counted 27 times. Barbara, as you can see, it's going to have even the names of the people. So this is an issue, and that's why it's much better to run this on nodes, because then when it comes to the nodes, it's not going to highlight people's names. And this is the word cloud. You can change the color, you can change the font, you can play with it. So it's interesting, and you would see that the text or the font of the text, or the larger the text, it means that it has been mentioned more than the others. You can also see the tree map and how phishing is linked to environment and development and other categories or words. And then we have the cluster analysis, where you can, this is very tiny and very small, so I need to magnify this. So you can see how is it linked to other words and other categories. Another thing that you can use as well is text search. So simply you are searching for a text within your files. It's very similar to the previous one. So you just select the file that you would like to have. And then look for, I don't know, maybe water. You can have the exact word, something similar, something different, and then run the query. You can see that how many times again it was mentioned in different places. Is this useful? According to my knowledge, yes, it's useful, because I used this in my PhD, because as you know, it's a long process, and usually when you collect your data, it might take months until you finish the transcription and analysis. And then you are going to start some discussions either with colleagues, with supervisors, with other people in conferences. So sometimes, you know, one word can click, yes, I know that I have this somewhere, but I can't remember where exactly, in which interview. So if we are talking about, in my case, I had almost 30 interviews. We are talking about at least 1 hour interview. So we are talking about a lot of documents. Doing this for once, search the whole text for one word, it would be much easier doing this using NVivo. So another thing is that the matrix coding. This is very interesting one, because this it helps you to have some kind of link between several cases. So it helps you to have link between your text and your cases, or your codes and cases. So this is a way to visualize and have an understanding how your data is linked to each other. In this case, you have rows and you have columns as well. So if I would select some of, again, I would go for not all of the interviews. I would go for 3 interviews, so it would be much clearer. And then add to the list. After the selection, you need to make sure that you are adding this to the list. And then for the columns, I'm going for example, the nodes. So I'm just going for the attitude. It's enough, so won't. And then add to the list, and then run. Please make sure that this is clear for you, because usually the OK or run is on the right-hand side, but in NVivo it's close. So the run is on the left-hand side. And let's see. This is what we have. So this means that the attitude, the mixed attitude, it was mentioned once in Dorothy's interview. The negative attitude, it wasn't mentioned in Dorothy, and she didn't mention anything about the neutral. This is another way if you would like to have some coloring or shading. So this would help you to have a better understanding. So all of the zeros are in white. This is, again, a different way to help you to understand how your data are linked together. This is very simple, but usually if you are going to run this, you can use some cases, you can use some, link the codes to the cases, have something more, or generate something more complicated. This is interesting, okay, to know that mixed attitude, it was mentioned once in Dorothy's interview, but it doesn't say if this one time was just a paragraph, or was it a sentence, or was it a word. So it might be worth to look at the word count. So in this case, mixed, it was at least 2 sentences, or maybe a paragraph, because it was 43 words. This also can be visualized as a chart. In this case, you can have different levels or different shapes of charts, and you can have something like this. So as you can see, all of them, all of Barbara, Charles, Dorothy, they contributed to the attitude, but in different levels and on different aspects. So for example, the mixed, it was just highlighted by Dorothy, while she didn't mention anything about the neutral. So again, those are some kind of ways to understand how can you run, or how can you have some kind of visualization or understanding. The NVivo has much more than this. So it has a lot of interesting tools that you can do, or you can, analyze with. One of the new things that NVivo started, I think it was last year, is the auto transcription. So if you have an audio file, you can upload it, and this is for a fee. And then for a fee outside the license. So you can upload your document to the NVivo cloud, and then it's going to be transcribed shortly, in few minutes. Maybe it's according to the length of the interview, but usually it doesn't take time. I didn't try this myself, but I had talked with several researchers, and they think that it's not very accurate. This is 1. 2, I'm not sure how it's going to work with different accents. 3, which is the most important point. If you are working on a project, you need to make sure, or a research, you need to make sure that your ethics committee are aware of this, because the data and the interview, so the recording and the transcription, is going to be stored on the cloud. So ethically, this might be an issue for some sensitive data. Again, if you are working with any of the European countries and the GDPR and you have a lot of issues regarding this. So you need to make sure that you are on the safe side and highlight this from the beginning. One final thing that I can highlight before having questions is how can you do something different? So how can you export or have all of your codes in one place? Once I finish analysis, I would like to have this as a Word document instead of having, you can have a screenshot, but I would like to have this as a Word document and present this at the end of my analysis or in the appendix. So you have something called Export Code Book. It's again, just right click, and most of the functions in NVivo, it's right click. So Export Code Book, and where I don't need all of this, I just need the nodes. And let me put it in the NVivo folder. Hopefully I will be able to find it here. Okay, save and include number of files, so you would know how many files, how many references were used. And I'm sure that you can't see this, so I have to stop sharing and then reshare the screen. So this is what I have now. Sorry. You can see the nodes, the description of the node. This is very important for you, and this is something that you do it yourself from the beginning. Remember when I said that if you are going to include a startup file, project, node, anything, it's going to ask you for description, and the more description that you provide, this would help you and help others who are working on the project at the same time. So you can see how many files were there, references. So you have all your nodes with description, unless you don't have a description like this part. So in this part, I didn't, and sorry, not me, the researcher didn't include any description, so it's empty. It might be better for you to start to be more organized from the beginning. Stop sharing. Let me go back to the NVivo. So I think I tried as much as I can to cover the main points. If I would go back to the presentation just to make sure that I'm finalizing on a few parts. Where's the presentation? So we had at least an idea about how to get your data ready, how to import your files, how to start analyzing your data using NVivo. Presenting the analysis, as I said before, it can be using word frequency, it can be matrix coding. All of this would help you to highlight or the main points or the main nodes or codes within your work. Few tips. So try always to, again, as I said, NVivo is not going to do this for you. So you need to make sure that you are using the thematic or analytic coding. Make sure that you are keep a record of your steps or what are you doing exactly, instead of just being passive. So try always to make sure that you have something like a diary. Use the word frequency, use the text search. Take your time to reflect on NVivo and take your time to reflect on your data analysis. At the beginning, you might be easier to analyze everything. Again, sorry, I forgot to tell you about this, but once you start analyzing, make sure that your nodes are separate. So, and then you are going to revisit this again and you can merge them. But it's much easier to have different nodes and then start to classify them into groups. NVivo is going to ask you every 15 minutes, if you are not working, it's going to ask you if you would like to save your work. Make sure that NVivo is one of the best softwares when it comes to help. So let me go back and show you this, because this is very interesting. So if I would go here, if you see the help, this would, oh, sorry, you can't see this. So once I click on the help, you will have this. It's an excellent tool to help you to understand how to do everything in NVivo. It might require some time to absorb all of this, but it's an excellent way to understand or go through NVivo. Going back to the presentation. Where is it? So there are I think there are some paid training sessions on QSR. You have this, you have the YouTube, it's full of information about the NVivo. And I trust that if you are doing a master's or PhD, once you start playing with NVivo for a while, it would be very easy for you. It's much, much easier than the research that you are doing. Unfortunately, I have to highlight the limitations of NVivo. This breaks my heart, but it's the reality. It's a complex, to some extent, it's a complex pack. So you need some time to learn, but once you learn it, it's going to be very easy. According again to research, and you would find some interesting articles online when they are discussing using NVivo for data analysis. And it keeps distance, or it can distance the researcher from their data, though I completely disagree, because once you are in this process, you are going to spend hours and hours. It's not a boring process. You are not you are playing with keys, so it's very interesting. So I don't think that it's distance. I think it's the other way around. It's more like engaging you with your work. And this is another thing that I forgot to mention. When it comes to the transcription that NVivo offered recently, to be honest, I'm not going to recommend this to anyone, because part of the research process is to get engaged with the data that you have. Part of the qualitative research is to have an understanding and in-depth and interpretation of the data that you have. So if you are not going, or if you are not willing to transcribe this, this would lead to this kind of distance. So, and again, this is my personal opinion. It's not going to make references for you. You need to be aware of where did you get this, and that's why it's very important from the beginning that to have these kind of labels and I won't say perfect description, but good description. So later on you can adjust this, and everything can be adjusted. So the description, the codes, and the names of the codes, everything, it can be modified later on. So don't worry about this. Definitely, it's not going to compensate for poor data. So if you have 3 or 4 interviews, short interviews, it's not going to help you. If you can't really have a proper link between your data and your readings or your research, it's not going to help you. The final limitation, which I completely agree with, it's the fact that you can get caught into this coding trap. It happened to me. And at one point, my supervisor told me, you have to stop. That's it. You are not going to get anything better than this. So this is enough. It's very easy. You can get caught into this modifying and polishing your work over and over again. But let's face it, every research, it would have its limitations, drawbacks, PhD, MSc, paper. So you need to accept this. Just make sure that it's okay to pass or okay to be accepted, but don't go into this coding trap. So I hope I helped you to have good understanding of why to use NVivo, getting your computer, your software ready, preparing your document, and start your analysis. In case if you are interested, there are several books, but the one that I would recommend is Qualitative Data Analysis with NVivo. So it's the first one here on your left-hand side. This is a very interesting one that you can use. If you are using NVivo, definitely you would need to, and especially if we are talking about PhD students, you would need to highlight the pros and cons of NVivo, and you would need to use some kind of academic work in order to do this kind of argument or discussion. And that's why using this book and other articles online would be very useful. But if you would like just to start, I would recommend you download the software and start with the help web page that I showed you. And yes, I managed to finish in 1 hour.
Thank you so much, Dr. Muna, for your informative and useful presentation. I always ask myself about this program. My thesis and my research, all it's about quantitative, so I didn't use NVivo before. You know, SPSS and Stata is our game, but I always ask myself how to use this program. I think it's not just using for qualitative; it's also for if I want to find a research question maybe, or think about something and put the words together to have maybe a new idea. Also, it help, as you said, in interviews and in many other stuff.
To be honest, I think it's again, I'm biased. I swear I'm not marketing this. Yes, I'm in the marketing department, but I don't work for people, and I'm not promoting their program. But I had an experience with different another two softwares where I thought that NVivo, it makes more sense, at least for me, and it was much easier to use. So it's very friendly one. I would recommend, if anyone is interested, just start to play with it. Don't take it as a serious thing. I think it's different than SPSS because I had my own trial to understand SPSS and go through it. But if you are a PhD student, this is out of my experience, I would recommend you to go for a mixed methodology. It might be hard, but then once you finish, you are going to have both knowledge, qualitative and quantitative. You would have better knowledge about the SPSS and NVivo for other softwares.
Thank you again, Dr. Muna. And now we'll open the floor. Please, guys, anyone just raise hand and I will go one by one to answer the question.
Something on the questions and answers forum?
We will go in Q&A next, but now we'll start by the queue. Mahmoud al-Maskouri. Yes, Mahmoud.
Hello. Yes.
Hello.
Thank you very much for the presentation. I have just 3 quick questions, please. The first one, how we can use NVivo as a shared project, like if we are 3 or 4 researchers working together in the same data, can we use NVivo so we can node all in the same file, or is that not an option?
Yes, you can do this. So usually it has to be stored on a server or a cloud where you can have this kind of accessibility to the rest of the team. But yes, you can do this, and that's why I highlighted at the beginning. It's very useful in case of projects with different people. So yes, you can, but you need to make sure that it's stored on I don't know, maybe cloud or server, or somehow something shared with the rest of the people. And I guess this would be a question for the information technology people to answer. If you have, I don't know, it's what we have, for example, in the university, we have some shared Google Drive or some shared folders. Yes, you can. And it would give you, again, this kind of traceability. So you would know who did what, or who started to initiate a new node, and you would be informed with all the activities that your team is making.
Thank you very much. The second question is about, can we export the nodes to Excel file as a dummy variable? Like if we create Excel file and we write the rows in the Excel file, every row representing one node. Is there any way that we can take the nodes from the NVivo straight to Excel file as a dummy variable, 1 and 0, exist versus not exist?
To be honest, I don't know, because I didn't, the nodes, it's more about qualitative work. So you need to have, it's more like interpretation. So it's not 0 or 1. It's more like, you know, why did people do this? It's not about doing or not doing. Does this make sense?
Yeah, I got it. So it's not there available. Sorry, just I have last, and I know I take long. So can we count the sentence instead of word using NVivo? I know you are thankfully showed us how to find a word count. Can we do that in the sentence base? Like instead of counting how many words there, so how many sentences that have this word?
Mm-hmm.
Is that option there in NVivo to count the sentence rather than the words?
To count how many sentences do you have?
Yeah, the sentence that contain that particular word. So for example, if I tell NVivo count the word risk, so instead of counting the word itself, I need to find how many sentences that contain the word risk, because sometimes the one sentence have two words in the same sentence.
Okay, yeah, I understood your question, and this is what I'm trying to look at now. So in this case, you would go for, I guess that you need to look at, search the text, and then, but then you would like to know how many, sorry again, can you repeat this? So you would like to know how many times it was repeated, or how many sentences it was mentioned on.
Okay, so for example, now, if I want to search for the word positive, the word positive might come 2 or 3 times in the same sentence. So I don't want to do a word count.
Okay, yeah. I got your point. No, as far as I know, no. This is, again, this is up to my knowledge. It might be something I can try to play around and see, but it gives you how many times the word was covered, and usually we assume that it's once per sentence.
Yeah. Okay.
But this is again an assumption. So, but if this would be useful, let me share this with you. Stop this. Not leaving. So here I searched for the word water, and it gave me a summary saying that it has been mentioned 14 times within this interview. So in this case, you can look at the references and see how many, you know, if it's just 14 times each time once in a sentence, this means that it's 14 sentences.
Okay, so manually you mean that, double check manually? Yeah, okay.
To some extent, it's manually.
Okay, thank you very much for your presentation and your help, and it's really excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Dr. Muna, I have just a small question about notes. Is it automatically, or I have to put word by word myself?
No, so let me go back and reshare this with you. Let me close this. Let me keep up. So this is the interview. In order to have a node, you need to do this yourself. You need to think of what does it make sense. So in my case, for example, she's talking here about the full-time job that she had in North, or she's talking about someone. So this might be full-time job. So I'm the one who's selecting this. I'm the one who's coding this. And then I can add it to one of the previous nodes or to have a new node. But I'm the one who should do this. And that's why I said it's not going to do the analysis for you. You need to do the analysis. And again, this is part of the qualitative research, because qualitative is based on interpretations. So if you have good understanding, or, you know, for example, if you read this sentence, it was full-time, but then in 2000, he got a job up north. If you read it, you might think that, okay, this is very good, he got a job. But I might have a different interpretation that before that, he didn't get a job. Someone else think that he got it in 2000 and now he lost it. So this kind of interpretation, this is what enriched the qualitative data. And that's why it's your responsibility to do this kind of coding.
I see. Thank you.
All right. And
Muhammad.
Hello, assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Thank you, madam, for your nice presentation. Actually, I'm a user of the NVivo from the last 2014. In my PhD work, I used the mixed method, that is a quant plus quant. At the time, I used NVivo and regularly using the NVivo. But I have two questions, madam.
Yeah.
Madam, can you listen me?
yes, I can hear you.
Okay, madam. My question is that first of all, I'm very happy that you are from my domain. That is, I am a teacher working as an assistant professor in domain of the marketing and supply chain. So you are from the marketing family. So I'm very happy to see you that.
Thank you.
Madam, my question is that how can we use the NVivo for the literature review for our extensive research or big literature review journey? How can we apply the NVivo and literature review? Actually, I am partially I am using this for conducting the literature review. But what is your status of the NVivo, using the NVivo for the literature review, that I can show in my methodology that I have conducted the NVivo for conducting the literature review? There is any status of NVivo for using the literature review?
Okay, so with the literature, you can use it as in the same way. So you can start analyzing the literature. You can start have your own codes and nodes from the literature, but you need to make sure that you have, for example, here, instead of having one set of nodes, you can have another one. So one from the literature.
Yes.
And another one, I know that the spelling is wrong, but I don't mind. So, and here within the literature, you have the PDFs. It's the same way of coding. This might be useful, and I have some students who did this. They use it for the literature and for the interviews. And once they finished, they had two sets of codes or notes. The first set, it was originated from their literature review. The second set was originated from their data analysis. And once they started to write their discussion, it was much easier, because then you can see that, for example, if I'm talking about social, it's called social media. So if I have some nodes regarding, for example, Twitter, it's very clear that those nodes regarding Twitter from the literature. I have other nodes regarding Twitter from my interviews. It's very easy then to start this kind of discussion and to find different ideas and interpretations, but it's the same. So if you're looking here at this PDF, you just highlight and you code it. So it should be very easy. And if you are interested in using this for the NVivo for the literature, you can even have more advanced what's called functions in order to have this kind of classification for your literature review. But what I presented today is just, you know, the minimum where you can start today and start working on the NVivo. But yes, definitely it can be very useful when it comes to the literature review, especially that most of the things now are online, and all the articles and even books, they are online. So yes, I guess that you can use it and it's very useful.
Madam, my question is that, can I explain, mention that in my article or in my research paper in methodology that I have conducted a literature review through the NVivo? Is it it can take this status?
you can always, and you have to be very clear and transparent when it comes to your description, because the more description, with the qualitative, it's always about being biased, and we have a lot of criticism. But the more that you provide details, this means that you are more transparent. But I have to warn you, not all of the supervisors and not all of the researchers are keen on using NVivo. So you might need to consult first your supervisor or the team that you are working with in order to make sure that they are going to be happy with the NVivo.
Madam, for publication, for make a publication for the reported journal, it can be acceptable? Can I accept it to them?
I can answer this in a few weeks because we just submitted the paper using NVivo. So let's see if they are going to be accepted. But yes, I saw some papers including NVivo. So I guess that yes, it's accepted, unless it doesn't fit with the paper or the journal idea. I would recommend you, if you are going for a journal, take a look on the journal, and you might be even I would recommend you to contact the editor to see if they would accept this, or they are a little bit, I can't say old school, but they don't like to use this kind of softwares.
Madam, thank you, madam, for your answer. Madam, I have another question. Can I ask you?
Yeah, sure.
Another question, ma'am. My second question is that for analysis of image, like that, I want to analysis of advertisement. That is a paper advertisement where a picture is published. Okay, but I want to analysis the picture. That is the cover page of the magazine or any billboard picture for analysis. So how can I will apply this method in NVivo for analysis of this? Can you please show me about this analysis?
You can.
I want to analysis image.
Yes, the image. So this is the one that, okay, so this is one of the image that I had on screen. This is about referencing. So I would just, click, drag, and it's going to highlight this part, and then I'm going to code it. So I'm not sure if you can see, there is a line here. There is a square here. Or
please, madam, if I want to tell the analysis the nudiness of picture in the advertisement, like the sexuality in the advertisement. Okay, so how can I will do conduct these types of the analysis?
It's not going to give you a description of the analysis. You can just, highlight a section of this and refer it or link to one of the codes that you are using. So it can be coding regarding, I don't know, maybe diversity within the advertising. So you can code it, but then you need to provide, more details, and you can have this image as you can scan the image. If it's as a PDF, if it's in a magazine, or take just a picture, and if it's a billboard, and include it. Does this answer your question?
Hello, ma'am.
Yes, is it clear?
Okay. Thank you, madam. Thank you, Mr. Ahmed, for arranging this types of the program. Thank you.
You're
welcome.
Okay, thank you so much.
Excellent. Sumaya.
Assalamu alaikum.
First
of all, I want to thank you for this series of webinar, Dr. Ahmed, and for the very informative and knowledgeable presentation of Dr. Mona. My question is about, actually, I'm a PhD student from Algeria, and I have a mixed methodology. So the first part, that of quantitative research, is pretty clear. But about the qualitative method, so I have enough data, but as articles and research papers. So does it create links in this NVivo? Does it create links of those data according to a personalized node, or it's how to say it? It's automatically from the program itself, the software itself. So do I have the chance to choose the nodes from the research? And those nodes, are they keywords or terms or what? So please clarify.
Okay, so let me try to start a new project instead of, no, I don't want to share this new project. I just need to so I'm trying, let me share this with you. I'm trying to
Take
start.
your time, yeah.
So this is the new project. It's completely empty. As you can see, the nodes, nothing is there.
Mm-hmm.
This means that if I'm going to have any files, and let me take this module handbook and drop it here. Okay. So let's say that I would like to start coding. As you can see here, once I highlight and once I click on code, you would see that here there are no nodes.
Yeah.
You are the one who's giving the node the name, and you need to make sure that the name, it reflects the content in order to be easier for you later on and for your supervisor or your colleagues to see how did you manage to, you know, what's inside this node. So if I would highlight this part as, I will code it, code in NVivo, and then it has to be a new node. So this would be a presentation. Okay. See here, you have a presentation. It's a new node. Yes, it reflects the presentation. So it's one of the requirements that they need to work in groups. This reflects the presentation. So whatever title that you are choosing for your node, it has to reflect what's inside the node. This makes sense. You are the one who's giving this node everything. If you would like, where is the node properties? If you open the node properties, here you can change the name. You can add description to this node, and you can provide all the information that you would like to have, but in indirect way. So the presentation, I can say, for example, that it gives an idea about the presentation that students at this level need to present, and for how long and what kind of criteria or things that has. All of this is reflecting the content of the node. I'm not sure if this answers your question because I wasn't quite clear.
I suppose so. Just one other question. So this nodes is how to say, is linked to one only file. What about the others if I have several files?
Okay, so if I will go back here and I'm trying to find another file that I can share here. Okay, so this is another file which is called groups. Okay, it should have something about the groups. I can't remember. It's one of the, yeah. Okay, so I can highlight this as well and add it to one of the codes, which is presentation. It's there, so I'm going to add this and okay. You can see here that when it comes to presentation, you can see that you have two files. So presentation or the content of this node, it came from two separate files and you have two references. Let me show, if I highlighted this part and I added this to the presentation as well. Okay. Look here, it's now turned to 3. So you can see that you have 3 references. This means that it has been mentioned twice in those 2 files, one of the 2 files.
Yes, I can see, yes.
Does this answer your question?
Yes, and we can make those graphs and those nodes from this. as the same as the previous that you have shown in your
But
presentation.
you need to have different nodes. So let's say that this is something about node exam, and then this is, it's random, but just for the sake of saying, this is report. Oops, sorry. So now you can see that we have 3 nodes, but the 3 are not connected anyway. I can click here and have a new node, which is called exam. Okay, I have exam assessment. And then I can drag the 3 nodes, put them into assessment. So now I have a 3 node. I need to update from children. So I have a 3 node with 3 subnodes. Then now you can have a map. But other than that, it would be something, 3 circles or
Great.
bubbles. Yeah.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your time.
You're
I
welcome.
really wish you all the success. Thank you.
Thank you, Sumaya. Zubair.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Alaikum salam.
First of all, thank you, Dr. Ahmed, to organizing this very useful webinar, and also Dr. Muna for providing this kind of webinar. I have some question about this. I already started my qualitative data analysis in other software like QDA, Light Miner. So is there any possibility to import code list and documents from other software in NVivo?
From other software or from NVivo itself?
From other software like QDA Miner Lite.
I'm not sure, but if you can download those documents from the other software, you can import them. But directly from a different software for analysis, I'm not sure if NVivo is compatible with different softwares. To be honest, I didn't try this.
Okay, and you provide an example that we can export code list or code book from NVivo to the MS Word. So is there any possibility to export this code book in other formats of software, if you know?
To be honest, no.
It is actually vice versa of first question.
Yes, yeah, I noticed that. It's just that I don't know if it's compatible with other softwares. Usually, as far as I know, usually most of the softwares, they are not compatible with each other. Otherwise, it would be it won't be profitable for them as we think. So most probably they try to make sure that you are stick to their software.
Okay, actually I'm doing case study research, and you know that in case study research we have to do within case analysis, then we have to do cross case analysis. So within case analysis, for example, I have case A and B and other cases. In case A we have different sources, and case B different sources. So can we map, as you informed that there is option of mapping and analyzing out, getting output, can we get output with specific case documents like interviews and document analysis rather than all data?
You can customize the tools of analysis according to your preferences. So when I looked at the maps, I picked, or I chose the nodes that I would like to represent, because for me the rest are not very important, or they don't relate to that case. So it's completely up to you how you would like to organize. The NVivo is not doing this itself, but it's a tool or a way to organize everything, have everything in one place, and link things together.
Okay. And last one, your expert opinion about Atlas .it, I think similar pronunciation of a software, and NVivo. Atlas, I have mobile Android app. Is there an NVivo have this kind of facility? If you know.
No, I'm not aware that they have any apps, and to be honest, I don't think that it would be useful to have this on an app, because you can't use this on a mobile or a tablet. It's better to have something, you know, big screen to be able to form the analysis. But as far as I know, the last thing that they introduced, it was the transcription service that they are providing.
Yes. Thank you very much, Dr. Muna and Dr. Ahmad.
Good luck.
Thank you so much, Zubair. Dr. Majdi.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Welcome, Sana.
Thank you, Dr. Mona and Dr. Ahmad, about the interesting presentation. I think NVivo software more suitable or beneficial to the content analysis when we use the content analysis. My question, how we can dealing the data as a video, because I'm not get how we can coding about the video data.
So I need to go back for the sample project. So if you would give me a second to I'm going back to the sample project, because the sample project is the one that has video, so we can.
Yes.
Let me share screen. Okay, looking back at the interviews, here is one of the videos. So the video, it's exactly like the audio one. You can just click and drag, and this is, you can do the coding by this way. But in this case, as I said before, not everyone would be very happy to have coding directly from the audio or video. Sometimes they would prefer to have the what's called the transcription as well, to make sure that it's for the transparency and the traceability purposes. If I would show you here the code, oops. Coding. So you can see here, remember at the first time when we looked at the strips, those strips on a Word document or a normal document, it was on your right-hand side. In this case, you would find it just below the text. So this means that this part, it has been coded in different nodes. Again, if you would open the nodes themselves, so it's natural environment, economy, environmental. I'm trying to find one that I don't have to. Fishing. Fishing or acquisition. If I double click this one, it's going to be there. Please don't freeze. Anyway, so just because I'm aware, okay, here it comes. So, if you are looking at any node, you would see here the summary, which is okay, the references, where did every part of the text came from. You would have the text if you are coming, if the content coming from Word document, from PDF, from pictures, from video. If you look at the video here, it came from this part. And if you are going to play this, you are going just to hear this part. You are not going to hear the whole video. You are going to hear the part that has been coded. So for the coding, you are just simply clicking and then dragging and then right click and code the node, or put it within a node. To what extent would your team or your supervisor or the people who are concerned with this would accept what's called coding from the video directly without transcribing? It's completely up to them. Does this make sense?
Thank you, doctors.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Majdi. Najla?
Hello, hear me?
Hello?
Great.
Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Mona, and you, Dr. Ahmed, for your exerted effort. And my question is regarding the program. Is NVivo beneficial or useful in all branches of science, especially in linguistics? Yani, to make a concrete example, my MA thesis is a semantic study of some sayings or pieces of poetry. So regardless how much NVivo is useful and a helping factor in building or in constructing my work in a well-organized way, are there any kind of help specific for only semantic studies?
To be honest, I didn't came across anyone who's using NVivo outside the business sector, mainly because this is, my community, the people who I'm dealing with all the time. But it'd be interesting to look at this. I would advise you just to start Googling this and type NVivo and within, Google Scholar and see what kind of articles did use NVivo. I can't think of a reason why not using NVivo in linguistics, especially that we are talking here about, interpretations and meaning and words. So why not? But I'm up to my knowledge, or according to my knowledge, I'm very sorry that I can't help you with this. But yeah. Suggestion was to look around to see. But yeah, I don't know, but I can't see a reason why not, because again, we are not talking here about numbers, or we are not using this for. It's mainly for qualitative data. So why not?
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Najla. Abdul Karim.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Good evening, dear Dr. Mona and Dr. Al-Kattan and all participants. I am Abdel Karim Jeddah, PhD student from in Algeria. Thank you very much, dear Dr. Mona, for your good explain. Really, I am very good. I am very proud of you. I have a simple question. Can we analyze qualitative data with the NVivo program, and how it? Second question, how can the data information obtained from the interviews and the videos be analyzed? Three question, and does the NVivo program allow us the forecast and analyze the time series and the statistical packet analysis, and what is the difference between SPSS program and the reviews program and NVivo program? And thank you so much.
Okay, I will start with the last one first. So what's the difference between the SPSS and NVivo? SPSS, I think Dr. Ahmed might be able to help you better than me in this case, but as far as I know, it's for quantitative data. So this means that you are dealing with numbers. In NVivo case, you are dealing with text. So it's more like understanding the text and what does it mean and what does it, the interpretation of the text. So it's more like what people or how people think or why would people react in this way. So it's more like understanding a phenomenon. But with the quantitative, you are testing a theory. And the quantitative is SPSS, the qualitative is NVivo. So this was your last question. Your first question was asking about using specific type of data, but I didn't catch this part. So what kind of data?
I'm not understand you.
So the first question, can you repeat the first question again?
The first question, can we analyze qualitative data with NVivo program and how it?
I'm not sure what's a qualitative data. Qualitative data?
Yes, qualitative data.
Yeah, so this is exactly what we did here. So you are having a text and then you start. Again, remember that NVivo is not going to do the analysis for you. So you need to, it might take you a day or 2 or 3 to understand what kind of data are you or what kind of themes can emerge from your interviews. And that's why I said it's important to do the transcription yourself to get familiar with the data. So you can do the analysis using the coding, because at the end, all the qualitative, if you are thinking of qualitative data, you need to have themes, sub-themes, something to summarize this kind of data that you have. So how are you going to do the analysis? Using the coding via nodes, subnodes. You can have even more functions within NVivo once you start going or playing around. You can have file classifications, you can have queries. So there is a lot to be done here. Sorry, the second question was?
The second question, how can the data and information obtained from the interviews and the videos be analyzed?
So the analysis of the videos, as I mentioned in the previous question, you just again highlight and click, or you can link it to one of the codes, or sorry, the nodes. This applies for everything, either documents, either recordings or the videos. So all of them has the same thing. You highlight the part that you would like to code and then attach this to one of the nodes. It depends if it's a new node or existing node, but as I said before, it might be better to start always with different, the lower level. So start having as much as you can from the nodes and then merge them. The merging is very easy, but the splitting is not easy, because then you have to revise everything within the node. So it's much better for you to do it right from the beginning.
Thank you very, very much, dear doctor. And you're welcome to my country in Algeria.
Thank you. Thank you. One day.
Thanks.
Thank you, Abdul Karim. Hamza. Hamza, your mic is mute. Majdi.
I'm mute. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hello, assalamu alaikum. My name is Majdi. I'm a PhD student. Thanks, Dr. Ahmed, for organizing this presentation, and Dr. Mona for sharing her knowledge. I just have 3 simple questions. Some of them are very basic. The first one, I just want to have a recommendation from Dr. Mona, her recommendation. To one PhD, I'm mixed methods, and I have 13 interviews. Do you recommend I use NVivo to analyze the data? Or some of them are like 1 hour something, like interview, some of them around like 20 to 30 minutes. So
did you say 30?
13 1-3.
1-3.
Yeah, because I have a mixed method, you see. So
yeah, okay. If I were you, if I would go back and start my PhD again, I would, if I'm going for mixed method, I would use both of softwares, because simply during your PhD, most probably if you are full-time, you still have time, to learn, and this is your golden opportunity. So, and usually universities, they provide you with the license for the NVivo. So, you have this opportunity. I would advise you, if you can, and if you have enough time, I would advise you to use it. Even if it didn't work well, this can be part of your recommendations that, it didn't work well with the mixed. So definitely it's going to enrich your experience, either with a positive contribution, or in both cases, it would be a positive contribution. But after starting to work, I think it's very hard later on to start learning anything new. Not very organized, not like me.
Okay, a similar here situation. Okay, so you recommend to use NVivo because 13 interviews, some of them short, long, so you recommend it to use the basic. Because I'm in that period now, I'm transcripting the interviews to put it in to analyze it basically. Mm-hmm. So yeah, so okay. So the second question is, I've seen you put in when you're doing the NVivo, sorry, maybe that very simple questions, but when a PhD, we have a like question and answer in the interview. So when I'm transcripting it now, that's in my period now, shall I put it like question, answer, or I need to put names as I've seen when you're doing the presentation?
If you would go for the auto coding, which I don't really, I would say start from the beginning, put, this is what I made for my, when I was transcribing my interviews. I had a Word document where I had several copies of the document. All of them have all the questions that I answered in my name. And then I started to add other people. And yeah, you might have some prop questions. I'm going to add this. But when I still remember, transcribing every word counts. So if you have something ready, yes, this would be perfect. So from the beginning, start to have something like a template for yourself, one Word document, copy and paste several times with the questions and your name inside. So you would add just the interviewee name, and even if you didn't add it, you can add it later on. It would be much easier, if this makes sense. But it might be useful to do this just in case if you would like to have or to go through case analysis or have some classification for your files later on. So it would be ready. You don't have to add anything later on.
Okay. So you recommend to do it as a names, because now I'm scripting it and a question and answer underneath it, question and answer underneath it, like that. You see the answer of the questions and put it from each interviewee.
In this case, I would say participant one. Participant
okay.
one, then the question would be you. So, but make it as participants. You can't put the names because it's the confidentiality issue and the ethics issue. So you shouldn't put the names. Yeah, just put it participant 1 and 2. Again, I would like always, or at least I try always to make the thing right from the beginning, so I don't have to change things later on.
Okay, so you recommend to put the names. That's what I want to understand exactly. Names, but maybe coded names. Maybe, for example, M1, M is, for example, financial, FM1, for example, FM2 inside the context for their answers.
Yeah, it can be something like this.
Okay. Okay, because that's may become the next question, is because, as you say, in ethically, we should not supposed to announce names while we're doing in the thesis inside. Maybe just put there, for example, MF1 and MF3 agree and saying the same thing, yeah?
Yeah, just any codes, as long as you are going to say, for example, participant 1 is MM1, for example, or M2 or whatever. So all participants, so it's completely up to you, but make it something logic. So using codes that doesn't reflect anything, this might be a little bit confusing later on when it comes to the examiners. Why did you choose this? So if something, it might annoy some of the external examiners, but other than this, you can use any you have to use, different names, or you shouldn't.
Yeah. Shall we put it inside the context or in the main description, the name and description there? The name, for example.
So for example,
The
when I had my PhD, I didn't include any names. So I said that participant one, I gave brief description because I had two groups of interviewees, and I gave brief description. So this one student, this one is staff, this one is a marketeer, for example, or, you know, or maybe give job description. So just be prepared to have a table with the classification of your participants, if this makes sense.
Okay. Oh, that's fine. Just last thing, maybe just very basic, but how to extract the data and put it as a, for example, like quotes and things like that in the thesis itself.
Okay, so you can just copy. Let me share this. Share the screen. Okay. So if see here, it's asking me because I have it for 15 minutes. I didn't do anything.
That was my screen.
Yeah. If I okay, no, I don't. So the balance here. Yeah. So if this is a quote, and usually the quotes should be a little bit shorter than this, you are just click, copy, and paste, and here you have the source. So once you know, put it in inverted commas, and then between bracket, the source was participant one, and then on that day, or whatever other information that you would like to have. So it's just copy and paste, and this is interesting because then you have all the quotes. For example, here we have all the quotes that has been discussing balance. So it might be better for you. So you are going to start comparing. No, this looks much better for, you know, for the PhD thesis, or for a presentation. This is better than the other 3 or 4. So I'm going for this one.
Okay. So it's basically, it's like manually just the grouping the answers for the similar answer between the interview together, and then I copy paste the best quote I think will present all the participants' answers similarly, and then it says, for example, if 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 they're agreeing about, and put the quotes, for example.
Unless you have 2 different opinions, for example, if this one differs than or opposing the other one, so you can have different opinions, have some kind of argument or discussion in between.
Okay. So even for the referencing, I should put it manually when I put it in the thesis itself.
Yes, but you have it here. It should be easier for you. So, and I was very frank from the beginning. It doesn't do this for you. So it's just a tool again to organize things.
You're just gathering all the similar answer on one page basically, and then you're gonna put it as a reference. For example, if 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 they agree about, for example, such a thing, and put the quotes, for example, around the similar thing. Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. Thank you, Dr. Ahmed, as well. Thank you very much for that.
You are welcome. Ms. Sally, Sarah.
Yeah. Assalamu alaikum. First, hello?
Yeah.
أيوة.
Oh, yeah. Okay. First of all, I want to thank you for sharing this information. I've used NVivo for my thesis, and it was helpful. My question is there a test or something else that we can use to confirm the credibility of our results? Because in my thesis, my professor suggested to be sure that we will code the same the information in the same way. So is there anything else we can use to confirm the credibility of our results, please? Thank you.
In this case, no. There is no way other than sharing the same material with someone else who doesn't know anything, and just start coding, both of you, and then start to compare the codes and to what extent are they similar or different. But there is nothing here, because here again it's exactly like, instead of using paper and a pen, you are using something else. That's it. So it's not going to do this kind of tests for you. It's just going to help you to be more organized and have everything in one place. Try to link things together. Other than that, no. So I would recommend you, and this is what I did before. I asked a colleague, a PhD colleague, so I gave her a sample of my work, and then I asked her, okay, can you please start coding based on this idea? So she had a good idea about my work, and then she started coding one interview. And once we had the matching, it wasn't 100%, but it was very good match. And yeah, you can even refer to this within your dissertation or thesis.
Yeah. Okay. This is the same thing that we did. I think that something else we can use, because I used it a couple years ago. So I
They,
thought that
yeah, they
something-
didn't evolve anything until now.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
Dr. Muna, if we can go to the Q&A. There is a question when we can use NVivo. I think you answered this question. Or you want to answer it briefly, Dr. Muna?
So when can we use it?
Yes.
I would suggest that it can be used for qualitative data analysis, but it has to be, I would recommend it for big number of interviews and long interviews. But then if you have the opportunity to learn, because from my experience, you don't learn unless you are practicing. So if you have this opportunity to learn and practice, please do so. But it won't be acceptable, you know, for 10 interviews, short interviews that, and it's qualitative research. Unlike your colleague who has a mixed method, so he had 13 interviews, and some of them are long, some are short, not very short, but short. So yes, I would recommend you to use it unless it's 10 interviews. So for example, MSc students, usually they have around 10, undergraduate, they have around 10 interviews. So there is no way, or there is no need to use NVivo. But if you have more than that, I would recommend you to use it, at least to learn. There is someone who asked about using NVivo without payment. I don't think so. It's unless, usually universities, they have license. So you might need to consult with your university, the TSU. But usually universities, they have license. But other than that, I know that it's just the free trial is about around 30 days.
Alaikum salam for all over the world who came, and all nationalities here. Also, regarding the records, inshallah, I will put the link here. How can we use, okay, the payment, okay. Sorry, Doctor, there is many questions, so it's.
I think some of them are related to what we discussed now, right?
I'm going one by one, actually, because 26 now questions. There's a certificate. This webinar doesn't have any certificate. Regarding, is the NVivo like voice viewed software?
Sorry?
Is the NVivo like the voice viewer software?
I'm not sure what's the voice viewer software, to be honest.
Yeah. Okay, how can someone get this software?
So the software, it's either to download the free trial from, I think it's called, just Google NVivo and free trial, and you will find, you can download it for a free trial. I think it was for 30 days. If not, you can ask your university, and most of the universities, or at least the ones that I'm aware of, they offer you a long-term license, which can be with you as long as you work or you study in that university.
Thank you. And Dr. Muna, what are your opinion for using NVivo for literature review. I think Dr. Mohammed asked this question. كيف نعمل اختبار صحة النتائج؟
I think
You answer.
just ask, yeah, this question. Unfortunately, yes, there is nothing called a credibility test on the NVivo. You have to be more traditional in this way and check, just give your data to someone else and you can then compare the outcomes. But there is nothing here in NVivo you can do this for you.
Okay, Redmi. Hi, my name is Sadiq Nasser from Palestine. I would like to ask if we can use NVivo in content analysis.
Okay, so NVivo, it can be used because simply content or thematic analysis, it's up to you. How are you going to analyze the data itself? So it's not going to do this for you. The main thing, again, with NVivo is that it's a tool that helps you to be more organized or to organize your work, have everything in one place, and link later on once you start to be more advanced with NVivo. You can start link things together using the classifications and the different queries that you have. So I don't see why not using this for the content analysis.
Okay. Also, the same person have a question. Every program has a problem. What are the problem of NVivo in order not to fall into them? I think you answered in the presentation, but if you can answer it briefly, Dr. Mona.
Yeah, as I said, it's like any software. It can freeze, and as you saw now, this happened once during the session. So make sure that you have a backup. Not all of the supervisors or not all of the researchers would be happy to use this kind of tool. So if your supervisor is not happy, then you won't be able to use it. This is a drawback of this thing. Researchers say that it can distance the researchers from the data. Again, it's an opinion that we have to respect. It's very tempting to stay working on NVivo for a long time, and this is again another problem. So you need to be aware of these issues.
Okay. Please, my question: can this software be used for engineering-based analysis?
I don't know, to be honest. I don't know because engineering, I think you have. It's more for things that you are transcribing, analyzing as interpreting things like this, but not for engineering. I don't know what you study in engineering or how does it look like when it comes to your research. So I'm very sorry, I can't comment on that part.
Dr. Magna, have you used this software to conduct content analysis on an annual report of companies? How has been your experience?
It seems that you are, in this case, you are talking about finance and accounting people because this is the annual reports. In my case, it's a little bit different because I'm marketing. So I use this to analyze interviews with people. So I'm very sorry. I can't reflect on something that I don't know. I don't know what's inside the annual reports of companies.
Yeah. Most of us used another software. I forget what is it. I forget what is it. There's another program that we use for annual reports. Okay, the other one, Assalamu alaikum. NVivo is applied in only marketing research domain or any research other domain? Thank you.
It depends on what kind of research are we talking about. So for example, now I'm working with a colleague on information systems where we are trying to analyze some kind of tweets on a recent phenomenon that happened. As long as we are trying to analyze the content itself and have some kind of analysis of the content and interpretation, so yes, it can be used. So in this case, it's more information systems rather than marketing. So yes, it can be used. I'm just confused when it comes to, you know, for example, engineering or finance. I don't understand how can it be used, because basically what you are doing is analyzing qualitative data. You are analyzing words. You are trying to find the meaning or trying to classify those kind of information into smaller number of groups, so you can give people better understanding of what's going on, if this makes sense. So I guess that it can be used, but you need to be very careful what kind of data are you using in order to analyze, or what kind of data are you using to use NVivo. So it has to be qualitative data. Some people use it for quantitative, but I didn't try this before.
Great. Actually, you answer 4 questions in one time. So
Great.
that's good. Yeah. Sharif Ismail, firstly, thank you for such a fabulous presentation. The question is, NVivo software does support sentiment analysis? If yes, which type of analysis it can do? Kindly mention an example.
I don't know if it can support sentiment analysis. I know that there are softwares for sentiment analysis. I can't recall the name of that software right now, but I remember that there was a discussion, I heard a discussion about a sentiment software analysis. Sorry, I'm very bad with names. I can't remember the name, but there was a software for the sentiment analysis, if this is the case. If you would like to use NVivo and start to classify the sentiments by yourself, this is another issue. But in order to, I guess that if there is a software for the sentiment analysis, I would prefer to go for the software, but I can't remember the name. I'm very sorry, but you can Google it, try. It was a good software. It was very useful according to the discussion that I heard 2 or 3 years ago. I'm sorry for that.
Thank you. Dil, how would it be possible to move from descriptive coding to analytical coding?
Analytical coding. So in this case, you are the one who's coding. In both cases, you need something from, as we all know, you can't change anything in the interview itself. So I'm not sure if you mean here that analytical coding, do you mean more like in-depth analysis for your code or for your text? Do you mean, or do you have something, if Dr. K or Dil K is still around?
Okay, Dr. Muna, also there's a question, can we use a different language other than English in NVivo?
I have been asked this question before. I don't know if NVivo would support Arabic or other languages, but I always use it with English. So I'm not sure if it's going to support this. If I were you, I would try it, you know, as a trial, just try to import an Arabic document, for example, or whatever language that you are using, try to import one of those documents and see if it can be read. And then this means, okay, what kind of language are you going to use for the codes as well and the nodes? So if you are PhD or if you are preparing a paper for UK to be published in the UK or the States, it has to be in English. So it might be a little bit tricky. But as far as I know, to be honest, I don't know. I didn't try this before. We should give it a trial. And
also they can Google it or maybe press help in the software, and I think
no, if
or they can try it.
Yeah, most of the research is done in English, so it's interesting to see if it works. I'll try this tonight.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Muna, for accepting my invitation and giving us from your time and effort. We highly appreciate it, and thank you all for joining ITAR online webinars. Also, I want to announce for a conference in accounting. This conference, it's in accounting. It's based in Kuwait. We open the call of paper, so please, anyone want to join who's in accounting field, or accounting or finance, or in corporate governance, sometimes corporate governance in management. The sponsor is Kuwait government, which is Youth Public Authority, and also Kuwait Accountants and Auditors Association. Those are the conference topics: corporate governance, CSR, banking, IT, big data, corporate narrative reporting, taxation, auditing, market reaction, risk earning management, performance, IFRS. If anyone want to send the paper, just send it to my email. I think all of you has my email. If not, please, I will share all my accounts, so you can find my email and all ITAR news and upcoming webinars. So thank you again. Thank you, Dr. Muna. For next webinar will be about corporate governance in GCC countries and minimizing the effect of COVID-19 by Dr. Zahra Nasser. Thank you all, and have a good day.
Thank you.
Or good night for another countries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Thank you. For many of you ask me about certificate. This webinar doesn't contain a certificate, so there is no certificate. About the record, please, all of you, I encourage you to join this group. It's in Facebook. It has all conferences and weekly webinars from ITAR, so it will be useful to join. And if you have any question, I am happy to help and answer any of your questions. العفو، شكرا جميعا، يعطيكم العافية. Thank you all so much for attending the ITAR online webinars, and see you next week. Salam.